3, 2, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Kira, what's up? Okay, this is good because I can actually see who comes on. What's wrong?
It's not working.
Okay, just leave it in there. We'll get it after. All right.
Hello, everybody.
Let's go.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you guys for thank you guys for tuning back in to the co-parent goals. We're happy to see you back. Last week there was a question, a topic that Dee and I were discussing, and it was about infidelity. So we kind of ran out of time. We didn't have enough time to touch up on that topic. We received a host of DMs and text messages of people just wondering if we could go into more detail. So today we entitled it the co-parent goals, and the main premise today is going to be about infidelity. And who else better to lead it than me, right? Right? Okay. So we're going to kind of get into it, and we want to just keep things raw and uncut. So today I'm going to be completely honest. Obviously Dee is as well, and then I'll give you what my perspective of what actually transpired in our relationship, which I believe infidelity played a tremendous part, and then we'll just kind of go into greater detail in terms of what was the demise of our relationship. And as you all know, it will be 120% all Dee's fault. And I'm pretty sure after this is over, you guys will agree with me, right? So, okay. So ultimately, one thing that I do want to say is that I do feel like infidelity, in my opinion, was a tremendous factor in terms of what broke us up. I did not cheat once. I did not cheat twice. I did not cheat 3 times.
4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 100 times. He did not cheat.
It wasn't that time. I mean, it wasn't that many times. But I did cheat a lot. And I do think, in my opinion, that was the ultimate determining factor that split Devora and I up. Now.
So I feel like there were actually a few different reasons why we broke up.
Okay.
I think that infidelity played a huge part in the disconnect throughout our relationship, but I ultimately think, I can go down the list.
Okay.
I feel like infidelity, I'm not even in there. Yeah, you write this down. So for your next relationship, you good. So I think, in no particular order, I would definitely say infidelity.
Okay.
Trust issues, which created trust issues.
Okay.
I can't even take you serious.
No, for real.
Okay. Finances.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you want to get into details about that, but
yeah, let's give the people what they want to know. The finances, my bag. I didn't have a bag. I had like a Ziploc bag.
You had a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, I had a Ziploc. Good. We was on the same page.
We were on the same page.
Whatever.
Right.
So I did have a Ziploc bag.
So okay. So let me just let y'all know, we were living together, and I feel like, if I recall correctly, I was taking care of most of the bills. And that was the issue for me. Okay. And not to say it's a deal breaker, because when you with somebody, y'all on the same team, but all in the place of me taking care of a lot of financial things for our family, I feel like I wasn't being communicated with about what you were doing with your money. And so it felt very one-sided. And
I will have to agree, she was taking care of a good majority of the bills, but it was her house, so she should have done that.
Or you shouldn't have lived there. Because if you was living in another apartment, you would have been paying your own rent.
Yeah. But
okay. And we had a new kid. So I think you were taking more so were we splitting daycare?
Yeah.
Anywho, either way, that was an issue for me. I felt like, and then on the back end, if we would go hang out with our friends or something, I feel like you would be judging me because I would never offer to pay.
Yeah.
Like, you judged me off of that.
Of course I did.
And you would say, like, we are with Kaylee and whoever, you know, who she was dating or whatever, you'll be like, I mean, Kaylee always offers to pay. I'm like, well, Kaylee don't live with her man.
Yeah.
And Kaylee's not paying for her man to live, so that was an issue for me.
Okay, so basically infidelity to you was not the main thing.
I think it was one of the things that added to the list of the long reasons why we could not get it together. I felt like we spent pretty much, we spent a good deal of the relationship just fighting for the relationship because there was trust, because there was, you know, encounters of infidelity. And so I think instead of us taking the time to get to know each other even before Christian came, I think we spent a lot of time, literally, like, you spent a lot of time trying to prove yourself, like, you know, I'm not doing anything, I'm good, or whatever, I got you. But then it was just a whole bunch of me just not believing you. But
okay, so here's my thing. So Dee's opinion is, so it doesn't sound like the infidelity was the root cause of us to break up. But in my opinion, she mentioned infidelity, trust, and finances, right? So the infidelity was there. The trust obviously was out the window once she called me the first 10 times.
100 to be exact.
It wasn't that many. And then the finances, so in my opinion, if a woman doesn't ask, she doesn't need. But now that I became more mature, yep, take a drink. So now that I became more mature, I'm in a position now where I'm more observant, right? So if I see a woman taking care of certain bills, or if it's like the child of, like the mother of my child, or like a woman that I'm seriously dating, then I will volunteer. Or just kind of say, hey, you don't have to worry about the rent, whatever, because I've already paid for it for the next 2 months. So at the end of the day, her opinion, it wasn't infidelity. In my opinion, it was infidelity. But there are additional reasons, which is finances and the trust issues, which I believe had a tremendous impact probably on us as well, which actually led us to agree to kind of move forward. In my opinion, it became a point where it just became so unhealthy, so dysfunctional that we couldn't even live together anymore, and it almost became extremely toxic. So because of that, again, I'm gonna give Dee her time to kind of chime in, but I think it was a mutual confirmation for us to kind of move forward and not actually be together when it came to co-parenting.
I feel like eventually that was a decision that was made. But I don't think that we literally sat down and was like, you know what, we tried, this doesn't work. I think there were some things that took place that it was literally clear, like, this is done. And so I think it was the same for both of us. Like, I don't think that, not that I don't think, I know we did not sit down and have a conversation and say we're done, or, you know, let's just agree to take care of Christian. It was literally like something happened and it was enough for us to both just be like, this ain't it.
So what's interesting to me is that she's saying that infidelity was not the reason for us to break up, which is perfectly fine. But on top of the infidelity in general, I had another child. So on top of me having another child and then hearing her say that infidelity was not the root of us breaking up is shocking to me, because in most relationships, infidelity and finances are the reasons why things don't work.
I think it is the ultimate reason why they don't work. But what you see here is a black woman fighting for her man and for her family. And even before we had a family, I still fought for the relationship. And I think I fought longer than you did. And had I understood that I should have exited stage left, like the first encounter or whatever that looked like for me, we wouldn't have even gone that far. The relationship only lasted as long as it did because I hung on as long as I did.
Exactly.
But you also drug it out. So when I was like in get out of here. When I was in situations where I'm like, okay, you know what, Cedric, I'm done. I would have a million text messages, a million emails, pop-ups at the house. Don't let me pull up the receipts.
I did that.
So then and that's the thing. Like, yes, like I think every woman can go into a situation and be like, you know what, cheating is a deal breaker for me. But first of all, at the age of when I met you, I was 22. At the age of 22, I didn't even have deal breakers. I didn't have really set standards. Me and Cedric didn't discuss any of that. So of course, in my head, I don't want my man to cheat on me. Like, no, don't cheat on me, whatever. But I still stayed. So ultimately, it wasn't a deal breaker. The fact that you could not get it right was a deal breaker for me personally.
Yeah.
Because I gave you like ample opportunities to kind of fix it, but you just couldn't do it.
Yeah, but
in every sense, and not just in regards to infidelity. I think it was it was a few that you just didn't get it. Like you weren't there, you weren't ready. Sorry guys, this is our kid that we're co-parenting here.
So I mean, I honestly no. She's like she mentioned earlier that she was 22, right? But I don't honestly feel like most men are mature at that age to know what they want. So I guess from a co-parenting perspective, you don't really think about the what ifs and what if things don't work. But now, obviously, because of our platform, we're kind of showing. I mean, our goal is to kind of show the world how you can properly get back on track. We obviously weren't on track, right? So the three things that she mentioned: infidelity, trust issues, and finances. Those are issues that are prevalent in even today's relationships and marriages as well. But I still feel like the infidelity is what triggered all the other things that she's mentioning, because if my attention was within the household and then focusing on the betterment of her and Christian, I don't think that we would have been in the predicament that we are in today. But the good thing about it is we've grown and we've got to a point now where we can properly co-parent. So I think the biggest thing is, in the beginning, I do feel like infidelity made it tremendously hard to co-parent. I mean, she can go into greater detail on some of the things that we actually went through, but what you see now took a lot of work. Right. So I guess my question to you is, Dee, so based on the three things that you mentioned, and we won't just say infidelity, but the trust issues, the finance stuff, and which is probably from the past, was things that you kind of still harbored on, and infidelity included, do you feel like initially, once we split apart and we decided to say, hey, this is done, made it difficult for you to allow us to co-parent effectively?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Well, first of all, I think the bigger piece is to understand that there is not, you don't go from breaking up with someone to co-parenting the next day. Like realistically speaking, yes, we have to still take care of this child outside of this breakup and during this transition. But your mind has to be readily prepared and available to something like that. When we first broke up, there were a lot of things in place. Like I ended up moving, financial things, both of us trying to just figure things out. So it wasn't like, hey, I know we're not together anymore, but like, what are we going to do about Christian? Like, I didn't want anything to do with Cedric when I was done. So it was a period where I had to allow myself to heal and at least get to the point where I can even communicate with this man, because I was not even trying to do that. So for me, it definitely created barriers to being able to parent with my child. But even though I can talk about those barriers now, but I still did what I had to do to make sure that Christian had a relationship with his son. And I know everyone is not going to be able to move how I moved mentally, but I just had a different mindset. My thing was, my son deserved both parents, period. I don't care if he don't have to be with me, whatever, but my son, because I felt guilt on the simple fact that I could not provide my son with the whole family. And then even the pressure of I'm a pastor's daughter, having to sit down and talk with my family about I'm pregnant, and then to even have to go further to be like, I don't know what type of situation this is going to be between me and him. That's hard. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot of things that I had to kind of just snap out of, and you just kind of go into survival mode. So I think that I did as much as I could do. So even if it meant, hey, you ain't got to text my phone, here's the bank information. If you want to put money in there for Christian, here it is. If you want to see him, text my mom, y'all can figure it out. I had to just remove myself. Even to the point of, if I had to drop a kid off my kid, if I had to drop my son off or whatever, I would be dropping him off to Cedric's friend or somebody. Like, it was rough. Like, y'all see this picture, but it was rough. Like, we went there, but I had questions. Like, I had questions in regards to, his integrity. Like I had questions in regards to like the type of person he was. Like, dang, this dude really don't really F with me like that. And that really made it difficult. Like, you don't F with me, but how you gonna F with your son, but you don't F with me? And not in the point of like I needed him to like be friends with me or be cool with me, but it's like, oh, that just brought me to this point. I feel like we actually went through 2 different opportunities to co-parent.
What was the first one?
The first one was when we first had Christian. We weren't together when we first had Christian. We were separated.
It's cheaper to keep her.
We were broken.
To make stuff work.
So when I gave birth to Cedric, we still weren't together. He had a whole girlfriend and everything. I completely just was like, I was pregnant. I was happy. I was just like in my moment, like, I'm moving on or whatever. Be here, don't be here. I'm sending you information about the appointments. Be here or don't be here. It wasn't whatever. And so once Christian got here, it was like, okay, what are we gonna do? And Cedric was like, you know what? Before it was like he had a girlfriend or whatever. He wasn't living with me, and so we were actually co-parenting and didn't realize it because we weren't together. But then at that moment, it's like you wanted me to. Like, you would be like, oh, can I pick up Christian? But Christian's like a month old and he's breastfeeding. I'm not sending you my child. And on top of that, I don't trust you.
Yeah, that was an issue for a long time.
That was an issue. But then Cedric didn't understand. Like, I wasn't saying don't see your child. I was saying, like, come over to the house. Like, you can see him when he's here. Like, I will even go to a different room and you can have bad time and y'all can do whatever y'all want to do. But this is his routine. He's a newborn child. You're not taking my kid. And I don't even know where you live. You're not taking my son. So that was a process of co-parenting, but then we ended up just getting back together. He ended up moving in, and then fast forward 2 years or and a half later, we had to co-parent again, and we literally broke up, and it was a real like test of like what.
I forgot all about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I did forget.
And
about that.
that's huge.
Yeah, no, it was.
That's huge because that's 2 different types of co-parenting.
Yeah. So basically, I had my own life with another woman in a relationship, and you were pregnant.
Can I say this?
No.
Can I say this? So Cedric had a girlfriend and you were living, like y'all, I don't know if you was like living with her or whatever, but you ended up living with your second child's mother.
But we were never girlfriend and boyfriend.
I understand that. It don't even matter. But like, y'all were living together and there were times that I would say, okay, Cedric, you can pick up Christian, keep him for a few hours, bring him back before bedtime or whatever. He would take my son to this woman's house and not tell me. And I had to find out later.
It was my house too. It wasn't just...
But you were living with another woman and did not communicate that.
It was a roommate.
But nobody knew that. You liar. Y'all see? So think about that. You think about someone being like, oh, I'm here to take care of my kid. And it's like, but you don't even know how to be honest. I don't even know where my son is. I don't even know if you say he's down the street, that he's down the street.
Somebody said the drama. Yeah, you're right. We needed a reality TV show back then because I don't even know what was going on at the time.
No, I said that all the time that our lives literally could have been a reality TV show.
Yeah,
like the whole thing. So yeah,
but I was young though. So
like
you gotta look at that. And then from like even like again, we're here because we've grown, we became more mature. But yes, it was a lot of drama. It was just bad. And I think we had a huge difficulty transitioning the horrible relationship that we had to become a copacetic, functioning, co-parenting situation. And I know it was hard for D because it was just like, it was probably so much anger and resentment built up towards me that regardless of how good I was going to be or how good I was as a father, that almost negated the fact of what we went through. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, now from the hindsight and then looking back, I don't blame her. But then it's just like it creates additional friction and anger on my end, which made it even more difficult to be able to communicate with D because it's like, can I come get my son? Why would you want to come get your son and he's breastfeeding? And on top of that, if he becomes hungry, if she's not pumping or whatever, how are you going to feed him? I wasn't thinking like that.
And the other, like I said, my door was open. I never told Cedric he could not come, even with every single thing that he did. And that's mothers, we cannot do that. I understand it's hard for us, but you have to open the door. And irregardless of how Cedric treated me, I opened the door. The door was always open. Now, whether he could make the decision to be like, but I just feel like you did not want to be around me so bad. Like, you were so upset with me that you was just like, man, I ain't gonna be around, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, you went through that phase, and then eventually you came around because it's like, okay, she been all right. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I don't care whether you see your kid or not. That's on you. I'm not begging nobody to come have a relationship with their son. And that's what we cannot control other people's behavior or control what they do. It's completely up to you. Just like, I know everyone is not in a situation to be like financially to just do it on your own, and everyone does not have the support system that I've been blessed to have or that we've been blessed to have. But it was at the point, it's like, Cedric, if you want to contribute to your son's life financially, here is the bank account information. Do with it what you please. I don't care if you put money in there or not. My son is gonna be taken care of, period. So that's on you whether you want to be a part of that. And eventually, because he saw that it was, I don't know if you saw that, but I feel like when I withdrew myself, then he started to be able to come around because he understood. I want to have a relationship with my son. So I gotta reach out to her. And eventually it just started changing for the better.
Yeah. And on top of that, I think any good father is going to wake up and smell the coffee eventually soon, because the only thing that you have against you is time. So the longer you wait and you become, or you just get into your phase of resentment, because to be honest with you, I'm young. I not just got to Atlanta, but I'm living in Atlanta. I started a job. I was making.
He was feeling himself.
I guess, yeah. So,
he was feeling himself.
For lack of better words, I guess I was. But I was starting businesses, so she went, like, she alluded earlier that the finance contribution was very minute. Okay, that doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is, I was hustling, right? So I'm starting all types of businesses and stuff. So in my mind, it's like, okay, she's taking care of the house, and then once I get my first big boom, here you go, $20,000, $30,000. But I was close. And I was probably like at 18.5 and lost it all doing a trucking business. So then it's like, how can I explain to her that I don't have the money? So in my mind, I just wasn't mentioning. I would come in the house and just not mention it. But realistically, I was broke, broke.
But the simple fact of the matter is, it was just a lack of communication. He didn't feel comfortable enough to come to me, or that I would still be there if he said, I don't have anything. But it didn't irritate me that he didn't have it. It irritated me that you didn't say anything. We know that every single month we got to pay rent. We know every single month we got to pay this daycare. And when you didn't say anything, it made me feel like you didn't care about me. You only cared about yourself, because I didn't know what you were doing with your money. I didn't know if you was over there sitting on it.
We never missed daycare, though. It was just the rent.
No. I'm just saying, though. I'm just saying, these are all things that we know that has to. But even, you paid the daycare, but every single month I had to be like, Cedric, the daycare's due. And it's like, bruh, it feels like I'm begging for money. I'm not about to keep begging you for, like, we live together.
Yeah, that could have been my fault. I didn't communicate, but I really didn't have it. Like, I had to bring out the black phones, and if y'all tuned in,
and that's another thing. I don't know what he was over there doing, but he had
I was making stuff happen. He
was already a cheater in the past, so I'm like, what? I'm not even finna look.
So I had 2 black flip phones, and I was a hustler, right? So when things got tough, I broke out the phone. But I probably was horrible at communicating.
Horrible.
Yeah, but most men are horrible at communicating. Somebody asked earlier what my zodiac sign is. I'm a Sagittarius. You're Aquarius?
Yeah, but
Aquarius.
Sagittarius is our trash
what?
men. Yeah.
Cut! I'm just kidding. But I'm not trash, though.
Y'all have the potential to be really good men. But then, like, y'all...
You gotta lock us in.
I'm not trying to lock... No, I want somebody that wants to be locked in. Yeah.
Okay.
I need somebody that wants to... it's not my job to lock you down. And he even thought that I got pregnant to lock him down. I'm like, bruh, if I was going to be locked down, I would have picked somebody else.
She trapped me. She trapped me. She trapped me, boy. She going hard today, boy. Okay, let's go.
What's your note say?
Well, we got 4 points. Okay, the first point is infidelity, trust, finances.
We already talked about that.
And then the 4th one says your fault. So that's her fault. All right. Now, so as we were talking about before, the issues that we believe broke us up. I do feel like infidelity was the biggest thing, but I do think she's 100% right. The communication between us was horrible, and it may have just been me. But the biggest thing for me is I can honestly say and sit here right now and say that I did not give my all to the situation, which was completely unfair on her behalf. And I'm mature enough today to even admit that. But as we fast forward a little further, I think as time transpired, we were both able to say, hey, okay, and D gave me the point. You're going to step up and take care of your child or you're not. So in my mind, once she started to step back and I seen that she wasn't nagging me and asking for X, Y, and Z, that's when I think I had a moment of truth when I realized, you know what? At the end of the day, it takes two. So you can't sit here and blame somebody. I did feel like she trapped me. I mean, she said that earlier. That's how I was thinking. She can say that she would have trapped somebody else.
How you trap somebody, but you having unprotected sex with them?
Everybody do. I mean, not everybody, but like most people that are dating, they have unprotected sex, but they don't think about the consequences.
Exactly. So nobody's trapping you. Trapped yourself.
Hey, trap.com. Hey, it's happened to all of us. Call me if you need help, okay? I know you're out there. Call me, all right? But still, I felt like she trapped me. But as I got older, I just think I was just going with the flow. And then once reality hit, the first thing that you do as a little boy is that you get the pointing fingers and you blame people, right? So I think the biggest thing is, first off, prevent it if you don't want it to happen. Like that's first and foremost. But if you do end up in a situation like us, I don't think it's not the end of the world. And I think for us,
you felt like that, didn't you?
Of course I did.
Because he would say things like that.
I thought I was done. I'm sitting, eyebrows sweating profusely. I was very depressed. And that's the first time that I even realized that I was depressed, because I find myself just sitting in the same spot, going to the gym, not working out, going for legs, and just be sitting around staring at people. I was down and depressed. But I think the biggest thing is we both ended up coming to a common ground, right? She had some insecurities and things that I did which caused for her to look at me a certain type of way. And I feel like she was preventing me to be a good father. But once I humbled myself and I thought about a lot of the stuff was self-inflicted that I did to D and my son. So I think once we kind of got more mature, I think the infidelity wasn't a major factor in terms of allowing us to co-parent successfully. I do think we both had to put in an effort. We had to grow as individuals. We both had to come to a point where we're like, hey, it's not about us. Like, it's really, really, really about Christian. Right. My question that I have for D is, how long do you think it took you to remove all the negative stuff that I did for you to say, okay, let me stop involving our friends and our mothers to communicate amongst us, and let me just step up and let me become more open with the situation?
I think it happened. I don't think it happened. It took as long as it could have taken, because I kind of created boundaries, which is how we even came upon co-parenting, because I took it upon myself to just be like, okay, let's just create some rules or whatever. And the rule was pretty much, here's my bank account information, put it in if you want to, and here, like, let's pick a day that works for you to pick up Christian and pick him up, drop him off. I'll pick him up the next day, and that's that. We never have to talk to each other. And so that was how I handled it. And somewhere in between, like, us making that kind of structure and maybe like 2 years ago, it allowed me to kind of get over whatever I needed to get over, and not necessarily to just completely get over, but honestly to just forget about it. It doesn't, because I think that a lot of women, we seek closure a lot of the times, and I know it's difficult to move on if you don't have closure, but at the end of the day, my closure was not within Cedric. My closure was in myself. My healing was in myself.
But do you think you had to heal? Because I know that there's guys and gals that are probably going through the same situation. And what I will say that, and this is my opinion, I only think that we're working because she's healed, and maybe not 120%.
And that's what I was gonna say. I healed enough to be able to deal with you.
Yep.
And only like this. Like, I'm dealing with you from here.
Yep.
Like, you don't gotta text my phone. We ain't gotta go back and forth about nothing. Either you got it or you don't. The only thing I need to know is, did you pick up my son or not? Yeah. That's it. And then I would get pissed off about if he picking him up on time or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and we're being honest with you. Like, so the other situation that I have, the others, like the second child, I'm still going through some stuff, like some legal stuff, confirming, like the legitimacy, being a father and all that other stuff. But what I can say is that situation is probably the most stressful situation that I've ever been in my entire life. But because I've healed, I can sit back and allow that particular parent to be ignorant because I've healed. I don't think she has healed completely, so it's made it a very difficult situation where if everything turns out the way that it may or may not be, I can't even introduce my other son in terms of like confirming everything into the life of what we have here, right? So I think that whole situation, the mom hasn't healed. That's going to be an ongoing situation. This situation, and to Dee's point, it may even be
it takes some time.
Yeah, it takes time, but that situation has been 5 years. So on my,
but
everybody's not mature enough to even get to this.
Like
so it's kind of interesting that I have another situation going on which is completely just bad, but I mean I'm able to deal with it, and it's not as bad, but it's bad because I can't even sit here and do what Dee and I are doing right now. So
it's pretty bad.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I guess it is, but I'm just letting you guys know that there's pros and cons about the people that you have children by, and you got to really know who you having a child by, because Dee and I are able to be mature enough to come to a ground, start a platform to let people know that co-parenting is something that could be done effectively and correctly. But for the most part, I think to her point, she had to heal a little bit. It may not be 100%, but it's enough for her to be able to be around me and for me too. Because
and not even to be around you. We didn't start doing that. We didn't start doing that until Christian started having issues. That's the only reason why we did that. If Christian would not have been having like anxiety attacks or whatever, we never went and got an official diagnosis, but my son was tripping. Every single time I would be like, Dad, he would freak out.
I think that was your fault.
No, it wasn't.
I think that was your fault.
How?
Because at the end of the day, this is how I feel.
It wasn't all my fault. I definitely contributed, but think about this, Cedric. I'm sorry, I completely cut you off.
She do that all the time.
He hates that.
Co-parenting interruptions.
Okay, look. When we lived together, will we not have slighted arguments because you would be like, oh, he's such a mama's baby. That's why I gotta have a son or a daughter because Christian's all up under you or whatever. And me and Christian are not even... Like, we're not even super affectionate. Like, he is not a clingy child. He's never been. But he was clingy with me. And that's what I wrote down a note. And I feel like, honestly, I don't know if... Because we know that kids can pick up on energy. Again, talking about the fact that me and Cedric potentially encountered an opportunity to co-parent before because we were broken up before he even came onto this earth. And then now, 2 years after that, it's like... He could have been, when I was pregnant, I was pretty much by myself. He could have picked up on all of that energy, and when he came here, it's a feeling. Kids are very intuitive.
He could have known that, but like at the end of the day, like there'll be certain, like if you're a mother or if you're a father, and say you're the father dropping off the child with the mother, and the child gets to crying, it's up to that father to say, like, there's no need to cry. Like, you're going with your father. It's going to be okay. You're going to stay with him and going to come right back. She didn't do that. Her thing would be... No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Her thing would be, don't cry. It's okay.
Because you have to be a mother and console your kid. If not, you're pairing him. He's pairing you. So it's like, I cry and then I go with Dad. When really it could be like, let's calm him down so that there's not a chain behavior of being upset and then going with Dad. Being upset, going with Dad. When really we need to break that up. So he's calm and then he goes with Dad. So we're pairing you with calmness and positivity. He will be hysterical. And when you get frustrated, when you're like, why are you upset? There's no reason for you to be upset. That makes it worse. So you have to be a mother, and it's crazy because I'm the hard parent. You ask my mother, she is the balance between me and Cedric. Because if it wasn't for Nana, I don't know how we would have damaged him. Because it's like neither one of us are affectionate people. Are we? Are you affectionate?
I'm not affectionate.
I'm not affectionate, but I have the potential to be affectionate with the right person. And so what I realized is that I didn't want... Shut up. I didn't want like that to carry over to Christian. So it's to the point of like, he's like having issues like expressing himself or like not being able to like, I don't know, like it was just I'm just coming in because my background is in psychology. I'm coming from a behavioral standpoint. Like I'm trying to help him through this, and I'm also trying to be a mother and nurture him through whatever it is that he's going through, because at the end of the day, when you are with your mother, like 90% of the time, and then you have to, at the age of 2, and then now all of a sudden you're being taken from your environment to go with your dad, who you know is your dad, but you're used to being with your dad with your mother. That's difficult for a 2-year-old child. And that's what I think the bigger picture is, that we need to understand how these situations, even how we break up, even how we decide to transition, these things affect our children. And we don't even know until we sit back at it. The kid might be 10 years old at school acting out, abusing other peers because he just didn't get affection at home, or his father left and he never, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many different things or different ways that this can affect our kid. And I saw how it was affecting him. And I was just trying to help. Like,
I think at that time she didn't properly heal because of all the stuff that I did, and I feel like if there was another reason why we broke up, I think you would have been more open to communicate to him and let him know there's no need to cry. But I felt that.
But we had those conversations.
But see, I feel a certain type of way because when I pull up, it's just like
he's
rubbing his
crying.
back and
he's crying before we could get to because we meet at Kroger. We can pull up at Kroger. The man knows that he's associated the location with you. And so now he's like,
you should have went to Publix.
I'm telling you.
Because Kroger.
As soon as we pull up, this man is in the back, going crazy. Do you understand how difficult that is?
But that doesn't make a father feel good at all.
It doesn't make you feel good, but you can't take it personal because it wasn't to say these tears mean I don't love you. It meant he's having a difficult time processing the fact that my mom and my dad are separate, and I have to go spend time with daddy without my mom. That's it. And I mean, eventually you came around and you understood, like, you know, and we've talked through this several times, and it's like at some point you were able to be like, okay, you know, it's crazy that he feels like that or whatever. He shouldn't feel that way, but at the end of the day, this is how our kid feels, and how do we proceed from here to help him through this? And
that went on. I think it started around 2. 2 to 4 or 5.
No, yeah.
No, actually, it was probably 2 or 4. It was
till 4. He would still cry.
Yeah.
Like, I would literally pick him up from school and be like, all right, Cedric, we on our way. Like, as soon as he saw that we weren't making a turn to go to our house, tears. He wouldn't say anything. But then what started to happen was he would be, when he was when he know that he's coming into, or he knows that he's going to see his dad, I could look in the back seat and see my son trying not to let the tears come out of his face. Like, because he knows that he's going to get in trouble if he cries, because you would chastise him for crying.
That's right.
That's not right.
See, that's where I got it from. That's exactly where I got it from.
That's not right.
It's not right.
But what are we teaching our son? To not express himself. It's a bigger picture. Yeah.
And then it actually could be a repeating factor of how I am. Because I'm not sentimental. I don't communicate.
But I'm the same way. That's why we do this, because I'm not, I promise you, I know you don't feel like that because I put on a good front for Christian. I'm not that way. You don't have to see me in that way anymore, but like I'm just as dry and non-expressive as you. Ask my friends, ask my mom. I'm the exact same way. And so I try to make sure that I'm not doing the same thing, because it's difficult. I have to be the balance. If he's coming home, like if I'm having to bring him to you and I already know how you are, I have to be the balance for my son. Let me go ahead and be a little more chipper. Let me go ahead and be a little more expressive, because when he gets with you, I don't know what that looks like for him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I don't like I know a lot of times it was an issue in the past because you were saying like, my mom babies him, but at the end of the day, what do grandmothers do? That's what I'm sure your grandmother did the same thing to you growing up.
I don't even remember. And I don't think so. No, I'm just being completely honest. Okay, let me just fill you in on grandmothers. The grandmothers are there to spoil the kids when the mothers and the fathers say no. That's why they created grandmothers. And so that is not why they created them.
That's why they created them. And she's the balance.
She completely made that up. She is the balance between us.
She's definitely the balance between me and Christian, because when I tell you.
But how is your mom so sentimental and emotional, but then you're complete opposite? Like,
my mom is sentimental and emotional towards my baby sister Diamond, and she does a little more towards my older sister. But for me, because I'm just not that way and I don't respond to that, she's a little more like this with me. But that's something I have to work on. And so I try to make sure, I know that that's an issue for me, so I try to make sure that I'm not passing that on to Christian. That's why I don't have a problem with him jumping up and down, being excited, or like, you know, crying about things. Like, not everything, but like, I need my man to be expressive, because I'm a woman and it's an issue for me. So I can only imagine how hard it is for men to be able to do that.
Yeah. But for me, I didn't have anybody to really talk to say, okay, it's okay to be expressive, or okay, it's okay to not be macho. So when I see Christian crying, it's like, dude, stop crying. Like,
you look at him like he's a punk.
Not a
like
punk.
He's weak.
Yeah, but I'm like, what are you crying for? Like, I don't hit you. We have a good time. So in my eyes, it's like, I expected you to be like, stop crying. Like, what's wrong? But instead of doing that, you're like, oh, it's okay. I'm like, what are you babying him for? But I guess in your point of view, it's comforting him so that he's okay. But in my eyes, all that's doing is, like, have you ever saw a kid hit himself and then you give him attention to him hitting himself? You're like, oh, it's okay, and he burst out crying. That's the analogy that I look at whenever a Christian starts to cry. I'm like, why are you babying him up? Because he may have had a small tear, but now that you're like, oh, it's okay, baby, he's just bawling.
But
it's
first
like,
of all, it's not even in my DNA to be like, oh, it's okay, don't
you
cry.
weren't doing that, but you
that.
were. But yeah,
no,
but
I'm gonna say, Christian, why are you upset?
You didn't say
it's
that.
okay to be upset.
It was different.
You just need to say why you're upset. Like, I'm going to address the fact.
And this is a different D than back then. Like, that other D was not what you said right now.
When we were co-parenting, I was pretty close to this one.
No way.
When we were co-parenting, now we were in a relationship, I was different.
That is so false. That is so false.
But Kira said this. I'm just answering this one question because I think it goes perfectly. She said, Cedric, did you have men to lean on during the period of infidelity while transitioning to co-parenting?
Lean on me when you're not strong. I didn't have nobody. Like.
So where were your friends? Who were your support systems? Did you have any other men, not just like a father, because your father is in Nigeria?
Yeah.
So who were you going to, even if it was like a friend? Like, who were you? Did you have any male friends who you could get like real advice from? Like, who gonna tell you the truth? Because that matters. I think circles.
I didn't have to be honest with you. I didn't have anybody, and then so most of the people that I knew, they had children. Like most of the guys that I knew, they had children, but they weren't taking care of their kids. See, my thing, and when life hit different for me is, yes, I had a father and I had a mother, but my father realistically was never there. So I made a vow to myself to say, first, don't have kids without being married, but that went out the window. That was a complete curveball. So then once that happened, that's like, okay, regardless of how much you dislike or like the child's mother that you have a child by, take care of your responsibility. So in my mind, that clicked. So to answer your question, I didn't have any male figure to look up to, because my cousin, which is another guy I looked up to, he had 4 or 5 kids by 3 or 4 different women, and probably only took care of the one that he was still dating or having sex with. Then who else? I had a mentor. He was an older guy in his 50s. He dated younger women. He had kids, but so it's a positive correlation between the company that you keep and you being a product of your environment. I had nobody to look up to. I had nobody to kind of give me the raw and uncut, like, look, dude, like, you effing up, like, get it together. So a lot of this stuff I had to kind of figure out on my own, pray, go to counseling. And then once I did that.
But you didn't go to counseling till after.
After when?
After the child.
Oh, yeah.
Or after the kids.
Yeah, but those were all coping mechanisms as time transpired for me to grow and become a man and be the person that I would go to for advice. But before that, I had no male figure whatsoever to go to, just to kind of give me like, look, bro, like, you messing up. You messed up once, now it's time to step to the plate. So I just think it's just the way the universe sets itself, and us both growing outside of the fidelity, me cheating and talking to multiple women, dating multiple women, going and having sex with a woman.
Over and over and over and over.
Chill out. Chill out. Wasn't that bad.
It was bad.
I only did it like 30 or 40
50 times.
It was 30 or 40.
100. 150.
120.
200.
160. But long story short, outside of all the infidelity, all the bad stuff that I did, talking to multiple women, dating multiple women, then coming home, and just all that stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
Like, all kinds of stuff. I just think it was a point in life where, and even to hold some of the fellas responsible, it's a point in life where you got to say, look, like, do you want to be 45, 50 years old, still having the same traits and characteristics that you have in your early 20s? Now, it may be a little premature to think that way, but realistically, it becomes a learned behavior. Right. If you're cheating, talking to multiple women at a young age, and then you get in your late 20s, you're going to be still doing it. Then you get in your late 30s, it's going to be hard to break that.
Right.
So in my mind, I said, you know what? I brought another human into the world. So I may not have to sleep with 50, 60, 70 women, but I need to look at things a little different. Mm-hmm. It may only be a few women that I'm dating. No, I'm being 100. And then, see, I'm Nigerian too. So, you know, being a Nigerian.
Oh my God.
This is the thing, guys. I'm not just playing. No, but still though, I do think that me being Nigerian played a tremendous part in infidelity.
I didn't know anything about Nigerian men until I met you. If I would have run. Run for the hills, ladies. Do not date these.
Whatever. You teach the thing about Nigeria. Do you really? This is what we offer. Right?
Do not date these Nigerian men who don't. It's some good ones out there, but don't meet now one of them that just got out of college and they got a good job, a good corporate job, because they don't know how to act.
They don't.
Get them out of here. Run.
Boy, you go from living in Nigeria where $1 US is 500 and something naras, and you come to Nigeria, it's just crazy. But I do think being Nigerian, hold on. Mm-hmm. I do think being Nigerian plays a huge part in infidelity, right? Because in my eyes, and it's proven culture, right? If you're financially stable as an African American male / Nigerian, right? We think that it's okay to date multiple women as long as you're taking care of the house. But we almost remove ourselves from an emotional standpoint because in our mind, being financially stable supersedes the emotional aspect, mm-hmm. which is a bad way to look at it. But fortunate, my mom is Haitian and Jamaican, my dad's Nigerian, so I have the Americanized side on me. But I do think that because my dad cheated on my mom. And my dad is remarried. My dad now has 4 children. So again, it boils to you're being a product of your environment, and sometimes it's a learned behavior. So if you don't break that curse early, you will.
But see, people don't even know it's a curse. They think that it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be.
It's a curse. Like, I had to go to counseling. I mean, it's really that bad.
And even when we went to counseling together within our relationship, that's something I had to realize. Like, that's something I learned in therapy, was that him acting that way, him having to be with multiple women and all this other stuff and not able to fully commit to me and my family, that didn't have anything to do with me. Like, yeah, there was some
of it did.
No, because Cedric, you was cheating from jump. So it didn't matter if I was Beyonce, Halle Berry, like, you was gonna cheat, period, because that's just who you were. Yes, it is. Because we can go back and look at the girls that he was dating, and they all fine.
Bad.
They all fine too.
He cheated on them too. Boy. You know, I got a good taste of women, but
if you want to keep them, then you need to learn how to act now.
No, it's not about that. Like, I don't think I fully love myself, and I think at that point.
Come on and preach. Don't get quiet now. The sermon is coming on. It's warming up.
Okay.
So you need to love yourself.
Yeah. Like, I honestly think first and foremost, it's important for you to know who you are as a man or woman. Right. You gotta love yourself, because infidelity is not just one-sided, right? What I do say is that guys are stupid when we cheat. A woman can cheat and you not even know. Me, I was just ignorant and sloppy with it. Like,
you didn't care. But you didn't care about yourself, and
how did you find out though?
First of all, a sister's intuition is on point. Yeah, so I would be God just would be showing me stuff. He was like, Devorah, I need you to go ahead and find this clue so you can get out of there. And I just couldn't. I would find a clue, then I would just still stay. So it didn't help me that I was finding these things and I was doing nothing with the information.
Because he was laying it down.
First of all, we could have just. That wasn't. It was decent, but it wasn't good enough.
Decent.
It wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough to be getting treated like that. I'm gonna just be honest with you. It ain't none on the earth. I'm sorry, y'all. We gotta do better. I'm gonna just tell you, cause
whatever.
Discernment. Thank you, cause I put up at the apartment several times with no key, but God would let me in.
Yeah, you did. Oh man, let's tell that situation right here.
Let's not.
Okay.
Cause we already know how it was.
Ow!
Y'all see my hand right here. We already know how it was. Shoot. Okay. So do we want to get some questions?
Yeah. Let's
I think we answered one. Can you reach that?
One question was, how old was Christian? I believe when somebody asked a good question is, why did you let Christian go with me if you didn't trust me?
That's the part that we're saying that in regards to the relationship, like I was saying that I couldn't trust Cedric in regards to the decisions that he made in a relationship, which some of those I definitely feel like were viable concerns. And for the most part, there was a period of time where that just wasn't a thing. But at some point I did have to give in, and I had to just kind of let go and allow him to show me there was some proving that had to be done. And there were probably still things that I didn't approve of or things that I felt like were happening, but I had no control of knowing what was happening. And two, it was beyond my control. So I can either allow this man to be a part and let him show me that he's capable of being a father, or either I can just stand over here and not have my son have a relationship with his dad. Now, like I said, there are a lot of things that I literally felt like I had to question. Like, it was just I just feel like the decision-making skills was just rough. Yeah. And so it was stuff like that. Like, I'm just like, I don't even know, but I just couldn't worry about it. I had to pray. I had to pray about it and really ask God to lead me and protect my child when he was with his dad. But I know that if anything would have came back in void, then we would have had some problems. But
whatever. So I want to ask you a question, D. What would be some advice that you would give some of our wonderful viewers as it pertains to co-parenting based on infidelity? Because I know what we went through, I mean, it took work, right? And it's a beautiful thing now to see that we came back together despite having finance issues, infidelity, and then just the overall communication and financial support. So what would be your advice to some of our viewers that they may not go through all the 1 through 5 things that you messed up on, but what would you give to them? I mean, they may have infidelity issues, they may have finance issues, but what would be your advice to them?
I would honestly just say, I mean, that's a very difficult question to kind of answer shortly. But I think that you really have to do some mental work. Like some of this, some you're just not going to get answers to everything. Some answers you don't even need. It's just not worth it. It's like once you find the information that you're looking for, then what do you do with that? If it's not adding or contributing to your healing process, I just would not give any energy towards it. Like what Cedric didn't know that I was doing behind the scenes was, and he thought I was like if he hit me up and then he wanted to start an argument, or if we were having a conversation and it would lead into an argument, I would just completely stop talking. You can't argue with me if I don't argue with you back. And then he would take it and be like, oh, she's keeping me from my child. No, I am keeping myself from this energy and from this drama. If you want to be a part of my life and a part of your son's life, then you need to approach me with respect. And from there, it's just like, okay, so, and then if we did have some issues again, like you said before, we would talk about them, or I would talk about them in person, and then he would agree to do that. But I knew that if we ever tried to have any type of conversations over the phone, it was going to go left. And so a lot of that, I literally had to fix my brain to just control what I could control, which was literally me and my behavior. And to put my son at the forefront.
Okay. Man, my next question would be, say that someone else is going through a similar situation that transpired between you and I. Would your recommendation, if they say that infidelity was a tremendous factor in their relationship, you stayed and that wasn't the breaking factor between us?
It should have been though. It's just I didn't love myself enough to walk away. Like I should have been able to say, I don't deserve this. I deserve something better than this, or how I'm being treated. I need to move it. I need to keep it moving. I wasn't to that point to make those type of decisions So I would hope, I'm sorry I cut you off, I'm sure there was more to the question, but I would hope that people would not allow themselves, even men, like, I understand that people feel like cheating and infidelity is like, it comes with the territory of a relationship, but sis and bro, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's abnormal. And for the society, we're allowing society to create in our minds that this is normal behavior. It is abnormal for you not to be able to keep your private parts to yourself and you want to give it to everybody. That's abnormal.
So this is what I will say. So basically her answer was no. I mean, she would not recommend that someone would stay if there's infidelity. Here's my.
But every person is different. I'm not telling people to leave if they man cheating on them. That's, you do what's best for you. You gotta ask God. Talk to Him.
Right. So here's my thing. It all boils down to you basically knowing who you're talking to, right? Because there's things that I had to deal with prior to even getting in a relationship, which I probably shouldn't have done anyway. So the biggest thing is when you guys get into a relationship or you're talking to somebody, and even if you end up in a situation where you have to co-parent, you have to know that person. So my suggestion and my recommendation in terms of being able to be in a copacetic co-parenting relationship is, I'm gonna give it 4 words. I'm gonna say 2, and I'm gonna let D say. Well, I'll just say 1, and then we'll go back and forth. But we'll say four words that would describe a successful co-parenting relationship. The first thing that I would say is co-parenting, and we got 4 total. So what will be the second one for you?
Communication. Okay.
My next one would probably be understanding. So you have to understand who you're talking to. You have to understand yourself first and love yourself. So what will be the next one for you?
Priorities.
Okay. So I think the biggest thing in this whole live, what we want to let you guys know is that infidelity is a tremendous impact in terms of what breaks people up. But I think the biggest thing is understanding who you're talking to, understanding who you are as a person, and also understanding that whatever child that you guys have had, it's about that child. It's not even about you. So once you overcome those situations and you're able to get along a lot better and understand who you are as a person, I think the co-parenting goals overall, they're a lot more beneficial. Yeah. So for us specifically, we overcame a lot. I cheated, which we all know that, but I think we were blessed to be able to bounce back based on me cheating. So we have about 30 more seconds. We want to get some questions or? No. Okay.
I mean, there's one question. Cedric, do you have examples of how you show sensitivity to your son and his emotional well-being?
Yeah, I do. I don't think we have enough time, so you may have to tune in to the next one, and I'll piggyback off of that question right there. We've received a lot of questions last time, so we'll try to piggyback off of some of the questions we received, but that's an excellent question. So, peace.
We out.
Stay tuned.
Coparenting goals.
Ha!